Hello friends, welcome to my new learning video. Today we will learn method overloading. आज हम मेथड ओवरलोडिंग के बारे में सीखेंगे, पॉलीमॉर्फिज्म के बारे में सीखेंगे, ठीक है। और आज हम थ्योरी कम प्रैक्टिकल सेशंस ज़्यादा करेंगे और विल कवर ऑल द इंटरव्यू क्वेश्चंस दैट इज आस्क्ड ओवर मेथड ओवरलोडिंग। बहुत सारे ट्रिकी क्वेश्चंस पूछे जाते हैं ओवर मेथड ओवरलोडिंग विल कवर ऑल दोज प्रोग्राम्स will run in the Eclipse, will show you how you can answer those questions. So बिना देरी के let's start the what is polymorphism. Okay, so what is polymorphism? Polymorphism means many forms. How? Polymorphism is made of two words, poly and morphs, right? Poly equal to many and morphs means forms. So polymorphism is called many forms. Polymorphism is basically like it allows you to do the same action but in different way. जैसे कि अगर आप sum करना चाहते हो then you can do the sum in multiple ways. Okay, so एक task को आपको multiple ways में करना है, so that facility provides by the polymorphism. ठीक है, so polymorphism is basically that it allows you to do the same action but in the multiple way or in the different way. Okay, so types of polymorphism is basically compile time and runtime polymorphism. Compile time is also called static and runtime is called the dynamic polymorphism. So today we will mainly focus on the method overloading, that is basically the compile time polymorphism. Okay, so here I have written also compile time polymorphism or static polymorphism is achieved by the method overloading. ठीक है, so today we will focus on the method overloading. So method overloading is nothing but the having same method name but with the different parameters or arguments. ठीक है, मेथड ओवरलोडिंग हम बोलेंगे जब अगर आप दो मेथड बनाओगे, मोर देन वन मेथड बनाओगे and will have all method will have the same name. Okay, so here you can see in the example that I have written sum two times. I have created method sum two times, right? But you can see that the argument is different, the parameters count is different here, int num1 and number2 and summing up the number1 number2, but in the second method having three arguments and summing all those three arguments, right? So this is an example of method overloading. This is a simple example of method overloading. Okay, so if anybody will ask to you what is method overloading, then you can simply say method overloading is defined as having the same method name but having different arguments. Different arguments or parameters means count can be differ or type can also differ. Okay, so like int num1 and num2 I have given over here. Okay, and I can create one more example having two number parameter but I can give that int and long. Okay, long is also a number, right? So int number1 and long number2, only two parameters, count of parameter is the same but since type is different, so that is also a part of overloading. So method overloading is achieved by two way. Having the same method name is mandatory. Okay, so two way means you can give the different arguments, number of arguments can differ or type of arguments can differ. So method overloading is achieved by two way, by giving the different number of arguments or different type of arguments. ठीक है, so we'll see in the example also, but before that what are the theoretical points about the method overloading. See, method overloading same method name but with different arguments. Okay, type of arguments can be different, number of arguments can be different. So for this is the points that I was discussing. Type of arguments can be also different and number of arguments can be also different. ठीक है, only you cannot give the same type of arguments and same number of arguments, that you cannot give, that will be ambiguous, right? Java will not allow you to do the same method twice. Method overloading also helps you to give same method name instead of different name for same task. What does it mean? You can see in the previous slide, here I have given one example of the sum method, right? Sum number1 and number2 and sum for three numbers, right? So if method overloading features is not available, let's suppose that method overloading feature is not available in Java. Okay, that means two parameters and three parameters, but with the same name you cannot define. That means you'll have to give one method name called sum for sum of two numbers and sum of three numbers. So we'll have to create the different method name for the same task. The task is to sum the numbers. But if we create method overloading, then here we have defined the same method name, but argument is different. So if you expose the API, then you will only expose the sum, and will also tell that you can just pass the parameters or the count of numbers that you want to sum, right? So you will method overloading will help you to not define the different method name. The method name will be the same, argument will be just different. Okay. And also in interview, this is the point that interviewer confuse you. Okay, that is, method overloading has nothing to do with return type. Okay, if you are thinking in this example public int sum int number 1 comma int number 2, okay, and if you create one more method public long or public void sum, okay, and int number 1 comma int number 2, then if you are thinking that is also a method overloading, so no, that is not a method overloading. So there is whatever the return type, this is the return type int, here also this is int. Method overloading doesn't depend on the return type. A return type can be the same or can be different. It doesn't matter for method overloading. For method overloading, the simple funda is that method name will be the same, number of arguments or type of arguments will differ. Okay, that's it. If you give different return type having the same signature of the method, then it will be ambiguous. It will not allow you. Okay, Java will not allow you to create same method name. Okay, so just keep it in mind. Okay, so up to this, let's do the practical. So here I am starting with the simple example of summing the two numbers or summing the numbers. Okay, so you can see that I have created one class called sum. So the task of this class is to sum the numbers. Okay, fine. Here I have created two method. So method name is the same. Okay, method name is the same, but but the number of arguments is different in this case. Okay, so this is the case of method overloading. Okay, and here I have created object of the sum class and called 10, 20 and called 10, 20, 30. Okay, so first let's run the program. So program is correct, right? Sum of two number is 30 and sum of three number is 60. Okay. So now, as I said that this is example of method overloading because method name is the same and argument is different. Okay. Now, one case I am saying I have copied the first method. Okay, have pasted over here. You can see that it's asking to rename because duplicate method. Okay, now what I am going to do, I am going to change the return type to int. Okay, let me also return some number. Let's store the sum in a variable int. Okay, of type int. So int sum equal to num1 plus num2. So I will print the sum and will return sum. So you can see that still I am getting the ambiguity error, the duplicate method error, right? Because having same method name, same arguments, okay, and but different return type. So one point you can understand, right? The return type does not matter for method overloading. It can be same or can be different. This is not part of the method overloading. Just remember it, because in interviewer will confuse you. Okay, so just remember this. Now what I had said, so forget about the return type. Now what is one more thing I had said you in method overloading, having the same method name and the number of arguments can different, or type of argument can be also different. Now you can see that I did not cast from long to int, because that was narrowing the type. I will discuss about that later, but I have now changed the type of this method as return as long, and summing up the two numbers num1 and num2, and this is the okay. Now what happens, you can see that error is removed, right? The method name is the same, having the count number of arguments is the same, but type is different, right? So this is the case of method overloading. So now we have three methods. So this is the case of method overloading, because the num type is the different. Okay, fine. Now what will happen if I am calling 10, 20? So will it call this public void sum method or public long sum method? Okay, so now the point is that there is another concept of called widening, or the priority, that how when this method will be called and when this method will be called, because the type is this different, right? So now the priority depends on the type. So we'll cover later on this priority one, but for now just remember that this is case of method overloading, and now I am calling this method. So just I am making difference of the statement, like sum of two number as long, two long number. Okay, now let's run the program. It will call the first method only, not the second one. Why? Because here priority of int is higher than long. Okay, so I am just running this method to show you the output. Sum of two number is 30. It's not printing sum of two long number. Okay, but now let's do one thing. Sum object, I'm just copying this line, pasting over here and passing it 20L, because if you have to define any long number, then you have to give L as suffix. Okay, now it will call this long sum method. Okay, the first one will call the first one and first sum method, and long will call from this one, and this is the three arguments. Let's run the program. Sum of two long number is 30. Got it? Okay, so the point is that you can achieve the method overloading by giving the different arguments, different count of arguments, or different type of arguments also. So you just have to remember 2 points. You can achieve method overloading by different number of arguments and different type of arguments, and also the return type does not matter. If you give the same method signature, only the return type different, then it will throw the duplicate method error or the method ambiguity. So this is a simple example of method overloading. So this is, again, I had created one more class for the type that I covered in the previous one only. So overloading by type, you can see that I have created some method. Return type is the same. Okay, return type is the same. It can be different also, but doesn't matter. method name is the same, only the type is different. Okay, int number 1 and long number 2, long number 1 and int number 2. Okay, so you can see that how I have called 10 20l 10l 20. Okay, so this is also a case of method overloading. Now there is another, interview there is one more question that is asked frequently, that is about the method overloading and null. So whenever you are creating method as method overloading, okay, and after you are passing the null, in the overloading method, then which method will get called? You can see in the example I have created one method called display result, okay, having string type arguments, display result having integer argument, display result having object argument. Since string, integer and object all can receive the null value, so which method will get called? And string 1, integer 1 or object 1? This is also one of the most popular questions, most popular interview questions, to just confuse the developer that he has correct understanding of the priority or not. Okay, priority means which will be called first, string or integer or object. Okay, so we'll discuss on this also. What is the priority order in this case? See, string and integer both have the same level, and object is a super class in Java, right? Every class extends object class. You do not write extends object, but by default Java extends object class. Okay, so string class also extends object, integer class also extends object. String and integer is on the same level. Okay, so if you are creating a method overloading which can receive the same type, same value, and level is the same, then it will throw ambiguity error. Let's see in the example. Okay, see, I have created 3 methods, okay, having the same method name called show result, and I have passed string object, integer object and object class object. Okay, now there are multiple scenario that is asked in the interview. First, I am directly passing the null. Okay, now what will happen? You can see that it is throwing error. Okay, the method show result is ambiguous for the type overloading with null. Overloading with null is the class name, so it is throwing the ambiguity error. Okay, why? Because string and integer is on the same level. Okay, in hierarchy order, string and object is on the same level, so Java will not be able to decide that which method will get called. Okay, so this will throw the ambiguity error. Okay, so to solve this, what I need to do? I need to remove one method. Just for now I am removing it. Okay, so now you can see that I have removed integer, okay, and string and object is there only. Now there is no error. Okay, so string and object, why? Because string is extending object. String is the child class and object is the super class. Okay, so string and object. Now let me run this program. This is calling this method string result. So now you can understand string have the high priority, because null can be accepted by string object also and object class object also. Okay, but in this it is calling string result, so the child class have high priority. Okay, whenever if two overloaded method can accept same type of value, then priority comes in the picture, and the child class will have the higher priority. Just remember it, child class will have the higher priority. So that's why it's going into this string result. Now we have another method with integer. Okay, so what I'm doing, just let's do with the removing string also. See, integer and object. Now it will go to this integer result. Okay, just let me write here, because integer is a child of object class object also. Okay, so let me run a Java application. It is calling integer result null. Okay, so now it is clear, right, that method name is the same, argument is different, okay, count is same but type is different, and passing the null, because null is a special case. Okay, now I am just doing Control Z, now commenting this line. Now see the second scenario I have written over here, string s equal to null and object dot show result s. Now I am passing the string. Now I am passing the string, right? But what is the value of a string is null, but the type is string, right? So now there will be no ambiguity error. Okay, but if I am removing the comment for this, then it is throwing error because of the ambiguity. Okay, because string and integer, but in this case it is not happening, it is not throwing the ambiguity error, because we have clearly mentioned the type, that which type it will call. So it will call the string. Okay, obviously string, because the type is the string. See, string result equal to null. The likewise, if you call integer upper class int I equal to null and obj dot show result passing I, so again it will not throw any error, because I have clearly mentioned the type, that is integer, and integer I have passed over here. Now I am going to run this program. See, string result null and result equal to null. Result equal to null means this one. Okay, so this is the tricky questions over when you are passing null. If you are directly passing null, then it is throwing error because of the same level. Method overloading with auto boxing and widening. Okay, so what is auto boxing and widening? Okay, auto boxing is nothing but to change the primitive data type into wrapper class. Okay, like the int is converted into integer. Okay, long is converted into long wrapper class. Okay, so that is basically auto boxing. And widening is nothing but, if like let's say the number of number of argument is kind of byte, short, int, long, right? There are 4 type of numbers, right? So int primitive type is widened to long, byte integer byte number type is widened to short, can be widened to long. Okay, can be widened to float. Okay, so likewise this is called widening. So in method overloading this is also covered. Interviewer can make you confused, like if I am not defining any int and and I am passing I am not defining any long variable, and I am passing the int, then what will happen? Okay, so let's see just example. See, I have created one method. This is the test method. Okay, this is also test method, because method overloading means having the same method name but argument type is different, int num and integer num. Okay, now I have created object passing 10. 10 is a number, right? 10 is a number. Now which method will get called, int or integer? So the priority order works like, first it will go for the primitive. If the primitive is not available, then it will go for the wrapper class. Okay, I will just show you that what is the priority order. Priority order for primitive type is the same type to auto widening. Auto widening means like int to long. Okay, then boxing or auto boxing. Okay, to just change into the wrapper class. Okay, upcasting, then super class. Sort is auto widen to int. Int can be to auto boxing like integer. Okay, again there is one more point. If you have defined int, see, int to long can happen, right? Int to long data can be widened, right? So it doesn't mean that integer wrapper class will be converted into long also. Okay, so that time it will throw class cast exception. Okay, so parent class to super class order. Okay, so here it is int num. Okay, so int argument called, integer number is called. Okay, so I have just call this two method by this. Let me run this program. Int argument method called, integer argument method called. Okay, now let's understand the concept of widening. Okay, what I am doing, I am creating one number of byte type and passing this number. Now still there is no error, right? There is no error. Now which method will get called, int num or integer num? Okay, let's run this program. The output is int arg method called, integer arg method called. Okay, so what happened here? I have passed byte number. Okay, but it is widened and called this number. There is no compile time or runtime error. Okay, so if the primitive data type you are passing as byte, that can be widened. Okay, and it is not calling this number. And let's say if I am removing this method having the primitive argument, now let's see what happens. See, there is an error. Okay, there is an error, right? Because now you will say that byte to int can happen, right? See, I have created one byte variable and passed, and which method is got called, int num, means byte is widened to int. Now listen to it carefully. Now don't think like if I am removing this, then auto widening and auto boxing will happen at same time. Okay, what does it mean? I am giving it as byte number. Then if this number, if there is any method having the byte type, okay, byte number, now there is no error. Okay, because byte can be widened. Widened means byte to int to long, right? Long to float. But here I have not defined any method having primitive data type. Okay, it is wrapper class integer, it is wrapper class byte. So here I am passing the number as byte, so it is not widening, but it is auto boxing, but it is not auto boxing at the same time. Okay, or I am creating one method that can accept object class. Okay, now you can see that there is no error. If I am removing this method, then there is an error, because it is saying that it is expecting integer and you are passing as a byte. Okay, so but if I am giving this object, so what happens? First it will check I am passing the byte. Is any method available having the byte argument? No. Is there any widened like int long arguments available having the same method, test method? No. Is there any auto boxing class, means the wrapper class having the arguments byte is available? No. Now what it will happen? It will check for the parent class or the super class. Okay, so you can see that I am passing over here the object as an argument, so it will be called that super class one. Okay, now just let's run the program. Byte argument method called. So I think it is clear to you now, right? See, if I am passing as a byte number, then it will check for that is there any method available having the byte argument. Okay, this primitive data type. If I am not defining any byte argument method, then is there any called int long, means widened data type, okay, is available having the same method name? No. Is there any parent class available? Sorry, auto boxing means byte. Yeah, since I am passing the byte, so it will look for the byte only. Okay, byte integer, byte wrapper class. So byte wrapper class, no, it's not available. If byte wrapper class is not available, then is there any parent class or super class available? So yes, object is here. Okay, so that's why it is calling this one. So you can remember this widening one, the priority, that how it is deciding, and also remember just one thing, that auto boxing will not happen at the same time with the widening. Primitive data can be widened but not the wrapper class, in simple line. Okay, primitive data type can be widened but not the wrapper class. So priority order, like first primitive data type, then auto widening, then boxing means converting into the wrapper class, then upcasting or the parent class, or then super class. Okay, the example is available over here. But if there is not primitive data type but having some user defined object, then what will happen? Then there will be upcasting first, okay, for the parent class, then super class, or then unboxing. Unboxing means primitive data type. Okay, so I am doing one more thing. I am removing this method. This is just one method, okay, not case of method overloading, just to show you that how it happens. See, I am just passing it 10. There is no error, right? You can see that I have called this test method having just passed 10. This 10 is like is done auto boxing to integer automatically by default, but let me pass int only, int num equal to 10. Still there is no error. Why? I have passed primitive data type, and it is first checking for the other data type like long is not available, then it will auto boxing, and then it found that there is a method available. Okay, now what will so this way it is get called. Now let me change it to int. Okay, so obviously it will call because having this int argument is available and I am passing int. But now let's turn into different. I am passing integer. See, still there is no error. Why? Error is not because it will check for the same type. Same type is not available, right? Integer is not available. int is available, integer wrapper class is not available, right? Then it will look for the upcasting or the parent class. There is nothing like that. Then superclass, there is no object. Then unboxing means int. Okay, means changing the wrapper class to primitive is called unboxing. Autoboxing is just reverse, changing the primitive to wrapper is autoboxing, and unboxing is changing the wrapper to int. Let's create this object. Now you can see that what will happen. So now I have created one test method having object argument, okay, and passing new integer 10. So now it will look for, so here I have created one method having the object argument. Now what will happen? I have passed integer, okay. So now it will look for the integer type, same type, but it's not available, right? Now it will look for the upcasting or the parent class, then to superclass, right? So superclass is available object, right? So it will call this object one. Unboxing will not happen now. Let's run this example. Run as Java application. You can see that object argument is called not int num, okay. So this is also a case of method overloading, right? Int and object, but the priority you may able to understand now, okay. So these are the basically questions that has been asked in method overloading, that what is method overloading, how you can achieve method overloading, the type, like having different number of arguments or type of arguments. Can we overload main method? Yes, we can overload main method, okay. Just let's see this example. This is a main method, okay. This is called the main method that Java knows. Can this be overloaded? Yes, okay. How method overloading means what? Having the same method name, that's fine. Having the different arguments. Okay, so this is a case of method overloading. We can overload the main method, right? There is no issue. Can you overload a static method? Yes, this is a static method. We can overload a static method. If you have any doubt, then please comment in comment box. I will try to answer your questions. Okay, thank you.